Have you ever met someone who seemed too good to be true? They didn't shout. They didn't demand. They didn't control you with force. Instead, they smiled gently, listened deeply, and made you feel seen. They offered peace, or at least, that's what it felt like at first. But here's the question you may not have asked yourself. What if that peace was just the bait? See, the most dangerous people in your life won't always show up screaming. They won't come with chaos in their hands. They'll come with warmth, charm, and what feels like connection. And that's exactly why they're so hard to recognize. There are people out there who don't destroy you loudly. They dismantle you quietly, from the inside out. They don't kick down the door. They study the lock, and while you think you're safe, they're already inside. These people are emotional illusionists. They twist reality with kindness. They use vulnerability as a map to your weaknesses. And while you open up to them, while you give them your time, your trust, your story, they're taking mental notes on how to use all of it later. Now here's what's most terrifying. You probably wouldn't notice it's happening. Most people don't, not because they're naive, but because these manipulators, these psychological predators, don't fit the image we're taught to fear. We imagine danger as aggressive. We imagine predators as obvious. But the real threat? It walks among us calmly, smiling, making you feel like you've finally found someone who gets you. Maybe you've even said it to yourself. I've never connected with anyone like this before. That person just understands me. But if the connection feels too fast, too perfect, too tailored, it may not be fate. It may be design. In this video, we're going to uncover 7 subtle but unmistakable signs that the person you're dealing with isn't just difficult. They're psychologically dangerous. This isn't about pointing fingers. It's about protecting your inner world, your energy, your clarity, your emotional freedom. Because the kind of manipulation we're about to explore doesn't just hurt your feelings. It rewires your mind. It makes you question your memory. It makes you doubt your instincts. And worst of all, it convinces you that you are the problem. That's the genius and the cruelty of emotional manipulation. By the time you realize what's happening, it's already taken something from you. Your peace, your confidence, sometimes even your identity. And you might be thinking, how could I fall for that? I'm smart, I'm aware, and you're right, you are. But that's exactly why these people use such subtle, strategic tools. They don't overpower, they infiltrate. So let me ask you, have you ever found yourself constantly explaining your feelings to someone who never really listens? Have you ever apologized for things you didn't do, just to keep the peace? Have you ever felt like your world was spinning, while the person causing the storm stood perfectly calm? Then this video is for you. We're going to break it down step by step. Not with fear, but with clarity. Because clarity is power. And once you can name the tactics, once you can recognize the signs, you take back control, not over them, but over your mind, your story, your future. So take a breath, silence the distractions, and stay with me, because what you learn today might not just shift how you see others. It might save you from months, years, or even decades of manipulation. Let's begin. Let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone who made you feel like you were the only person in the room? Like they saw you, not just on the surface, but deep down into the parts of you most people overlook? And within just a few minutes, you found yourself thinking, wow, where have you been all my life? It didn't feel forced. It felt fated. They laughed at all the right moments, remembered tiny details, echoed your opinions like you were thinking the same thoughts at the same time. You felt like you could trust them instantly. And that's the moment you should be most careful. Because true manipulators, those with dark, calculating intent, don't barge into your life with warnings. They slip in quietly, with compliments, with a perfectly timed smile, with attention that feels tailored just for you. But make no mistake, that's not connection. That's strategy. You're not being loved, you're being studied. These individuals, psychological predators, analyze you like a puzzle. They watch how your eyes light up when you talk about your childhood dog. They take note when your voice softens around poetry, or when you open up about your fears. Then they mirror it back to you, like magic. They create the illusion of synchronicity, as if your souls are speaking the same language. But it's not soul, it's script. This is how they pull you in. Not with who they are, but with who they pretend to be for you. They become the perfect friend, lover, or confidant, and by the time the performance ends, you're already hooked. It starts with intense flattery. You're unlike anyone I've ever met. I feel like I've known you forever. You just get me, and you believe them, because it feels so real. But here's the twist. The charm only lasts as long as you're playing your part. The moment you challenge them, the moment you set a boundary, question their intentions, or simply stop being useful, that warm, attentive person vanishes, and in their place, someone cold, dismissive, even cruel. You might think, did I do something wrong? You didn't. You just stopped being easy to control. And instead of acknowledging it, they flip the script. Now you're too sensitive. You read too much into things. You're imagining it. This is where many people get trapped. Because the charm was so intense, so believable, that your mind struggles to accept the shift. You start making excuses for them. Maybe they're just having a bad day. You shrink yourself, trying to bring back the person they were in the beginning. But the truth is, that person never existed. That was a role, a performance, a mask. Real charm, authentic charm, comes with consistency. It doesn't disappear when things get uncomfortable. It doesn't punish you for speaking your truth. It doesn't demand blind loyalty in exchange for affection. Stoic philosopher Epictetus said it best. Appearances are not reality. Don't trust the mask. Watch the behavior. So how do you know if someone's charm is real? Ask yourself. Do they stay kind when I say no? Do they show up the same way when I'm not useful to them? Do I feel like I can be my full self around them, without fear of being dismissed? If the answer is no, then it's not love. It's leverage. And if their attention feels like a spotlight, hot, focused, and fleeting, it's not there to warm you. It's there to control you. That's the first clear sign of a manipulator in disguise. Their charm isn't a reflection of who they are. It's a tool, a lure, a trap. So when someone feels too perfect, too fast, too tailored, slow down. Take a step back. Because true connection doesn't rush. It doesn't mimic, it reveals. And if something in your gut says, something's off, listen to it. That voice might just be the one thing they can't imitate. Let me paint a picture for you. You're holding a blue coffee mug in your hand. You can see it. You can feel it. You know it's blue. It's obvious. But someone across from you looks you dead in the eye and says, "That's not a blue mug. That's a red teacup." You laugh at first, thinking they're joking. But they don't laugh. They don't even blink. Instead, they tilt their head, smile gently, and say, "Well, maybe in this light it looks red. Or maybe you're just tired." Sometimes you mix things up. And just like that, something inside you shifts. You know what you saw, but now you're questioning it. That's not confusion. That's manipulation. This is the world of gaslighting, one of the most dangerous psychological tactics used by manipulative individuals, especially those with psychopathic tendencies. It's not just lying. It's the calculated art of making you doubt your own reality until you stop trusting your memories, your instincts, even your emotions. And here's what makes it so sinister. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly, like erosion, tiny denials, small contradictions. You start second-guessing your thoughts, then your words, then your entire sense of truth. They'll say things like, "I never said that. You're overreacting. That's not what happened," even when you know it is. Eventually, you find yourself apologizing, not because you were wrong, but because you've been made to feel wrong. You begin rewriting your memories to fit their version of the truth. And in doing so, you lose pieces of yourself. This is not just psychological manipulation. This is psychological colonization. They don't just lie to avoid blame. They lie to control the narrative, to make you dependent on their version of events. Because if you can't trust your own mind, who else is there to trust but them? And it doesn't stop with just you. One of their most cunning tactics is triangulation. They'll tell your friend that you said something behind their back, then tell you that your friend is acting weird lately. They spin stories that pit people against each other while they sit back, appearing calm, neutral, even helpful. But make no mistake, this is engineered chaos, designed to isolate you, to ensure that they become the only person in your life you can't rely on. And what makes it even more dangerous? They mix just enough truth into their lies to make them believable. They remember details, real ones, then embed them in fiction. It's like putting poison in a glass of water. It looks harmless until it's not. Now, here's the part that's truly exhausting. When you confront them with facts, screenshots, timestamps, evidence, they don't back down. They double down. They twist it, flip it, project it onto you. Before you know it, you're the one defending yourself, even with the truth in your hands. Why? Because for them, truth isn't sacred. It's a tool, or worse, a weapon. And as Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone can prove me wrong, I'll gladly change. I seek the truth," which never harmed anyone. But a psychopath doesn't seek truth. They seek control. And they will bend, reshape, and shatter reality until your truth feels like fiction, and their fiction feels like the only truth that matters. So, how do you know if you're trapped in this kind of mental maze? Ask yourself, do I often feel confused about what actually happened? Do I find myself apologizing for things I didn't do? Have I started doubting my own memory, feelings, or sanity? Do I feel anxious trying to recall conversations? Like I'm walking on eggshells? Am I isolated from people I used to trust? Based on what this person said? If the answer is yes, then you're not just in a difficult relationship. You're in a psychological war zone. And the only way out is clarity. Step back. Observe patterns. Write things down. Talk to people you trust. Reclaim your truth, even if your voice shakes when you speak it. Because someone who loves you doesn't twist your reality. They respect it. They don't erase your memories. They honor them. Remember, your mind is your sacred ground. And when someone starts planting lies in it, it's time to stop tending their garden and start protecting your own. Have you ever cried in front of someone, and they didn't flinch? Not because they were stoic, or grounded, or trying to be strong for you, but because they simply didn't feel anything at all. That's the kind of emptiness we're talking about here. And if you've experienced it, you know how chilling it can be. One of the most dangerous signs that you're dealing with a manipulative, possibly psychopathic person, isn't just what they do. It's what they don't feel. They lack empathy, and not in the way that makes someone a little emotionally awkward. No, this is something much deeper. This is a complete absence of emotional depth. They don't connect with human feeling from the inside out. They mimic it from the outside in. You see, they know what emotions look like. They understand the timing, the gestures, the words. They watch how others react to pain, joy, grief, and they learn the script. But when they speak it, it's empty. You can feel it in your bones. Their comfort feels cold. Their concern feels rehearsed. Their affection? Conditional. They say all the right things. But they never actually show up when you need them. Imagine this. You've just lost someone you love. Your world feels like it's collapsed. You reach out, vulnerable, broken, and instead of real support, they offer a cliché. Everything happens for a reason. Or worse, they change the subject, or roll their eyes. You tell them about your fears, your struggles, the moments that keep you up at night. And later, maybe during a disagreement, they use that same information to cut you down. You told them about your anxiety? They call you too fragile to be loved. You told them about your fear of abandonment? They go silent for days. And when you finally confront them, they tilt their head and ask, "Are you sure you're not overreacting?" This isn't emotional immaturity. This is emotional absence. Seneca once said, "No one is crushed by misfortune unless he has first been deceived by prosperity." And that's exactly what happens here. You were deceived by the illusion of care. Because in the beginning, they made you feel so deeply understood. They mirrored your emotions so perfectly. You thought, finally, someone who gets me. But it wasn't real. It was rehearsed. They didn't feel what you felt. They performed what they thought you wanted to see. That's the most dangerous kind of emotional manipulation. Not coldness, but fabricated warmth. It creates a bond that feels genuine, but lacks all substance. And once they've gathered your secrets, your emotional language, your vulnerabilities, they use them not to build intimacy, but to gain control. It's all about leverage. And here's the pattern. They simulate closeness, draw you in with what seems like compassion. Then, once you're invested, once you're depending on them emotionally, they begin to withdraw. Or worse, they mock your needs. They call you too much. They shame you for opening up. And in time, you begin to doubt whether you ever deserved support in the first place. But let's be clear, it's not you. It's not that you're too emotional. It's that you trusted someone who doesn't have the capacity to care. And that's not your failure. That's your strength, your humanity. Because real connection requires empathy. Not perfect responses, but presence, care, a willingness to feel with you, not just act like they do. So ask yourself, do I feel emotionally safe with this person? When I'm vulnerable, are they truly present, or just performing presence? Do they use my emotions against me when it's convenient for them? Do I feel lonelier with them than I do alone? If the answer is yes, that's not love, that's illusion. And no matter how convincing they may seem on the outside, what's missing on the inside matters more. So if their empathy feels conditional, their kindness short-lived, their connection transactional, that's your sign. The mask will always slip. And when it does, you'll realize they never felt anything real. They don't see you as a human being. They see you as a role to play with, until the performance is no longer useful. Protect yourself. Because when someone lacks empathy, they'll never hold space for your pain, only use it. There's a moment, a quiet, piercing moment, when you realize the person in front of you isn't just careless or immature. There's something else entirely. It's not when they hurt you. People make mistakes. It's when they feel absolutely nothing about it. No guilt, no hesitation, no concern, not even a flicker of curiosity about the pain they caused. That's when you're no longer in the presence of someone who's simply difficult. You're in the presence of someone emotionally dangerous. Most of us, when we hurt someone we care about, feel something shift inside us. A kind of internal weight. A voice that says, "This isn't who I want to be. I need to make this right." That voice is called a conscience. But for some people, that voice doesn't exist. They don't pause when they harm you. They don't reflect on what happened. They move on, as if your pain is just background noise. And here's what makes it worse. They won't just hurt you once. They do it again, and again, and again. This is the cycle. They wound you, then deny it happened, then detach completely, leaving you to clean up the emotional wreckage. And when you finally speak up, when you try to explain what that moment did to you, they don't apologize. They flip the script. "You're being dramatic. You're overthinking. I only said that because you pushed me." Suddenly, you find yourself apologizing, again. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you've been manipulated into believing that your pain is the real problem. Let me be clear, it's not. What you're experiencing is emotional inversion, where the abuser becomes the victim. And the victim is left feeling like a burden. And this isn't random behavior. It's a pattern, a strategy. They cause harm, deflect responsibility, and make you question whether you even deserve to feel hurt at all. Why do they do this? Because remorse requires self-awareness. It requires vulnerability. It requires someone to say, "I was wrong, and I want to change." And change? That's something they're not interested in. Because change would mean giving up control. And for them, control is everything. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "Guilt is the soul's compass." But these individuals have cut the cord. They don't seek growth. They seek power. And the most frightening part? Sometimes they enjoy the damage they cause. Not in an obvious, cartoonish way, but in a quiet, chilling one. Like watching you struggle gives them a sense of superiority. Like your vulnerability proves they were right to dominate you in the first place. And if they don't leave, the cycle continues. You get hurt. They pretend nothing happened. You question your reality. You try harder to fix things. And then it happens all over again. Over time, this erodes your confidence, your self-worth, your sense of emotional safety. You begin to believe that maybe you expect too much. Maybe you need to lower your standards. Maybe this is just what love looks like. But it's not. Love without remorse is not love. It's control. And if someone keeps showing you that they can cause harm and feel nothing about it, believe them. This isn't a bad day. This isn't emotional immaturity. This is a person who lacks moral direction. So how do you recognize this pattern in your own life? Ask yourself, do I feel like I'm always the one apologizing, just to keep the peace? Have I seen the same hurtful behavior happen more than once? Do they ever take real responsibility, or do they always justify, deflect, or blame? Do I feel like I'm being punished for having feelings? If the answer is yes, then you're not just in a painful relationship. You're in a dangerous one. And it's time to do the one thing they never will. Take responsibility, not for them, but for your peace, for your clarity, for your future. Because true connection requires remorse. It requires someone who cares enough to grow from their mistakes. And if that's not what you're seeing, it's not your job to beg for it. It's your signal to walk away. Not in anger, but in truth. Not in rage, but in wisdom. Because healing doesn't begin with them saying, "I'm sorry." It begins with you deciding you've had enough. Some people give you energy. Some people share your burdens. And then, there are those who slowly drain you, emotionally, financially, spiritually, while smiling in your face. This is one of the most dangerous types of manipulation because it doesn't always feel like taking. It feels like need, like partnership, like building a future together. But the truth? They're not building anything. They're feeding. This is sign number 5, the emotional and financial parasite. You might not notice it right away. At first, it feels romantic, like you've finally found someone who sees your worth. They idealize you, praise you, call you the most amazing person they've ever met. You feel needed, essential, chosen. But that pedestal they place you on, it's not about admiration. It's about leverage. Because once you're up there, it's a long way down. Soon after, things shift. They begin to devalue you, subtly at first. A backhanded compliment here. A dismissive shrug when you share your ideas. A comparison to someone else who would have handled things better. And while you're reeling from the change, they begin to extract. They need help covering dinner. Then it's a loan to cover rent. Then it's, can I just crash with you for a while? Things are tough right now. You want to believe them. You want to support them. After all, isn't that what love is? Helping each other through the hard times? But here's the problem. With them, the hard times never end. Weeks turn into months. Your money becomes our money. Your time becomes their time. Your home becomes their refuge. And their demands? They always come wrapped in guilt. We're building a life together. Don't you believe in us? I'd do the same for you. But would they? You start losing track of how much you've given, financially and emotionally, because it's never just money. It's your focus, your bandwidth, your energy, and while they keep taking, they offer less and less in return. No real contribution, no consistent effort, just more needs, more excuses, more reasons why you're the one who has to carry everything. And here's what really stings. When you finally reach your limit, when your well runs dry, they vanish. No warning, no closure. They move on, like nothing happened. And you're left not just with depleted finances, but with something even harder to restore. Your sense of trust, your belief in your own judgment. You ask yourself, was any of it real? You feel ashamed for giving, guilty for caring, and lost in the silence they left behind. But here's the truth. You weren't foolish. You were kind. You were hopeful. You believed in someone who saw your heart and used it. Because parasites don't attach to people who are weak. They attach to people who are generous, especially during moments when life has softened their defenses. After a breakup, a loss, a career setback, they know when to strike. And they wrap their intentions in love, struggle, and the illusion of shared dreams. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." These people live in the opposite of that wisdom. They take without asking. They lie without blinking. They exploit without guilt. So if you're wondering whether you're with someone who's slowly draining you, ask yourself. Do they take more than they give? Do their emergencies always seem to land in your lap? Do you feel guilty for setting basic boundaries? Do they make you feel responsible for fixing problems they created? If the answer is yes, then you're not building a future together. You're being used as a life source. But you don't owe anyone your savings, your space, your sanity. You are not cruel for saying no. You are not selfish for protecting what you've worked for. And real love, true partnership, does not come with emotional blackmail or financial exploitation. Someone who truly cares for you will never make you feel drained. They will never treat your kindness like a resource to be mined. So reclaim your boundaries, reclaim your energy, and if needed, cut the cord, before they take more than you can afford to lose. We've all known someone who lives life a little on the edge. They're impulsive, spontaneous, always chasing the next thrill. At first, it's exciting, refreshing even. They bring energy, adventure, a sense of, let's just go for it. But then, the cracks start to show. It's not just spontaneity anymore. It's recklessness. It's broken promises. It's one mess after another, and somehow, every time, you're the one left holding the broom. Welcome to sign number 6. Impulsivity and the complete refusal to take responsibility. At first, their chaos feels like passion. They quit jobs on a whim, move to a new city overnight, start a bold project without a plan. You might admire their boldness, their unwillingness to settle, but here's what you'll start to notice. The trail of damage they leave behind? It's never their fault. They say things like, "My boss was jealous of me. My ex was emotionally unstable. That opportunity just wasn't what it seemed." Excuse after excuse, story after story. And all of it, just convincing enough to make you doubt your own judgment. They don't reflect, they deflect, and they're really good at it. You'll find yourself explaining their actions to friends, to family, even to yourself. You say things like, "They're just under a lot of pressure. They didn't mean it that way. They're going through a phase." But it's not a phase. It's a pattern, a cycle, and you're part of it. Because while they're off creating chaos, you're the one managing the fallout. You pay their bills when they overspend. You smooth things over when they blow up at someone. You cover for them at work, in public, in front of family. You become their emotional, financial, and moral safety net. And every time they come back with that good version of themselves, calm, sweet, full of promise, you think, maybe this time is different. But it never is. Because this isn't about occasional mood swings. This is a strategy, a tactic of control. Their instability keeps you off balance. Their contradictions keep you distracted. And in your confusion, you stop noticing the bigger picture. You become so focused on calming the storm, you forget to ask why there's always a storm in the first place. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." But this kind of person isn't trying to be good. They're trying to be free from consequences, from accountability, from the work it takes to grow. And here's the deeper damage. Over time, their inconsistency becomes your normal. You start expecting chaos. You live in survival mode, waiting for the next explosion, the next apology, the next round of excuses. Peace becomes unfamiliar. Stability feels boring. You start questioning whether you're the problem, whether you're too harsh, whether your standards are too high. But let's flip the script for a moment. What if your expectations are exactly right? What if wanting emotional maturity, personal responsibility, and follow through isn't too much, but completely reasonable? Because here's what healthy looks like. When someone messes up, they own it. When they cause pain, they pause. When things go wrong, they look inward first. That's growth. That's integrity. So if you're always the one absorbing the shock, cleaning up the mess, forgiving the same mistake over and over again, it's time to ask. Do they ever take full responsibility for their actions? Do they change, or just promise to? Are you making sacrifices for their mistakes? Have you started silencing your own needs just to keep things calm? If the answer is yes, then what you're dealing with isn't just impulsiveness. It's a refusal to evolve. And the truth is, no one can build a peaceful life on someone else's chaos. You deserve more than empty apologies. You deserve more than next time. You deserve consistency, accountability, growth. So the next time someone causes destruction and walks away without flinching, let that be the moment you stop chasing their potential and start protecting your peace. There's a kind of person who doesn't just survive in chaos. They create it, they stir it, they feed on it, and worst of all, they use it to control you. This is sign number 7. Weaponized chaos. Now, most of us try to avoid conflict. We value peace. We want harmony. Even when things get messy, we usually look for a way to restore balance. But not them. To a manipulative mind, chaos is not a side effect. It's a strategy. When things are calm, stable, and clear, they're at a disadvantage. Because clarity shines a light on the truth. And when the truth comes out, their power disappears. So what do? They stir the pot. They spark arguments. They confuse conversations. They introduce drama where there was none. Ever had a moment where everything seemed fine, until they walked into the room? Suddenly, tensions rise. People turn on each other. Mistrust creeps in. That's not a coincidence. That's design. These individuals manufacture chaos to keep you disoriented, to keep you reactive. Because when you're constantly responding to drama, you stop asking bigger questions like, why is this always happening around them? They insert themselves into every disagreement as the voice of reason. But behind the scenes, they're the ones who planted the seeds of division in the first place. They twist your words. They misquote others. They isolate you from people you once trusted by slowly poisoning those relationships. And here's the cruel brilliance of it all. When you finally react, when you raise your voice or break down from the pressure, they look at you calmly and say, "Why are you being so sensitive? Everyone else seems fine. It must be you." Suddenly, you're not just in chaos. You're the cause of it, at least. That's what they want you to believe. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." But how can your thoughts stay clear when someone's constantly muddying the water? This kind of chaos is more than manipulation. It's psychological theater. And the moment you step on their stage, they take the pen and rewrite the script. And the audience? They often don't see what's happening. Because on the surface, this person seems composed, rational, even helpful. But behind the curtain, they're pulling every string. So how do you know if you're caught in their chaos? Ask yourself. Do you leave conversations with them feeling confused or emotionally drained? Do you constantly feel the need to explain or defend yourself? Do problems always seem to trace back to them, even if they never appear to own them? Have you lost trust in others because of things they've said? If so, you're not just dealing with miscommunication. You're trapped in a web of manufactured instability. And here's the most dangerous part. They don't just want to confuse you. They want to isolate you. Because the more disoriented and alone you feel, the more you depend on them as your anchor. The more you accept their version of truth. And that's when they have you. But there is a way out. And it doesn't involve confrontation. It doesn't involve proving them wrong. Because deep down, they know what they're doing. The way out is to refuse to play the game. Step back. Observe. Don't engage in their battles. Don't explain yourself over and over again. Don't try to fix the chaos they created. Let the fire burn out without adding fuel. Peace isn't something you beg for from people who thrive in your confusion. Peace is something you reclaim, the moment you decide your mind is no longer for rent. Your clarity is your power. And when you stop reacting, when you stop chasing understanding from someone who only offers distortion, you take that power back. So if someone in your life seems to always be at the center of conflict, if they appear calm while everyone else is on edge, if their presence turns peace into tension, and connection into confusion, trust your instincts. You are not crazy. You are not the problem. You are waking up, and the most powerful thing you can do is walk away from the storm they've spent so long creating. Because the moment you stop dancing in their chaos, They lose their favorite weapon, your participation. Let's take a breath together. If you've made it this far, it means you've started to see clearly. And once you see clearly, you can't go back. You've recognized the signs. You've seen the charm that wasn't real. The lies that bent your reality. The empathy that was only an act. You felt the cycle of harm. The weight of being used. The sting of responsibility always falling on you. And maybe for the first time in a long time, something in you is saying, I deserve better than this. Let me affirm that for you, you do. Because here's the truth no one tells us often enough. You cannot change someone who does not want to change. You cannot love someone into accountability. You cannot fix someone who sees your pain as a weapon, not a wake-up call. There comes a point when the most powerful act of love is the one you show yourself. And that begins with one decision: to stop playing their game. They want you to keep questioning yourself. They want you to stay confused, reactive, drained, because that's how they stay in control. But your instincts? They're not paranoia. They're protection. That quiet discomfort you've been ignoring? That's your inner voice begging you to pay attention. Because real peace, true peace, doesn't come from making toxic people happy. It comes from reclaiming your right to clarity, to safety, to sanity. So what do you do now? You start setting boundaries, not out of anger, but out of wisdom. You start saying no, not because you're cold-hearted, but because you've finally realized how much it's cost you to keep saying yes. And you start honoring the truth of your experience, even if no one else validates it, even if the person who hurt you denies it, because you don't need their permission to protect yourself. You don't need their apology to walk away. You don't need their change to choose peace. Healing won't happen overnight. There will be days when you second-guess your choice. There will be moments when loneliness echoes louder than the relief. But don't mistake withdrawal for weakness. Growth is quiet. Peace is slow. Strength takes time. The version of you who stayed, that version was surviving. But the version of you who leaves, that version is awakening. So when the doubt creeps in, remind yourself, you're not walking away from love. You're walking away from illusion. You're walking toward clarity, truth, and wholeness. And one day, you'll look back, not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Because that experience didn't destroy you. It showed you what you would no longer tolerate. And that is a beginning. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." So think thoughts that free you. Surround yourself with voices that lift you. Live a life that doesn't require you to shrink in order to be accepted. Let this be your line in the sand. Let this be the day you say, "No more games." Say it with your silence. Say it with your distance. Say it with your peace. Because you were never meant to live in emotional warfare. You were never meant to prove your worth to someone who refuses to see it. You were meant for more. For depth. For calm. For connection that heals, not harms. And the moment you stop fighting for the wrong people is the moment the right ones can find you. So here's what I ask of you. Comment below with the words, "No more games." Not for me, but for yourself. To mark the moment everything began to shift. To affirm that from this point forward, you choose peace over chaos, truth over illusion, and healing over control. And when you're ready for the next step on your journey, I'll be here. ready to walk beside you, not ahead of you, because you're not alone. You never were. And now, you never have to be again. If something in this video spoke to you, if even one sentence made you pause, breathe deeper, or see something in a new light, then this space was meant for you. And I want to invite you to stay. This channel isn't just a collection of content. It's a safe place to come back to when the world feels heavy. It's a reminder that you're not alone in your confusion, your questions, or your quiet search for clarity. It's for the nights you lie awake wondering if you're the only one who feels this lost. It's for the mornings you wake up and whisper, "I want to try again." Here, we believe in growth, not perfection. In healing, not rushing. In asking better questions, not chasing easy answers. Because the truth is, the journey back to yourself is not a straight path. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's messy, sometimes it feels like you're starting from zero all over again. And that's okay, that's human, that's honest. If you've been made to feel like your pain was too much, if you've ever had to shrink your spirit just to keep someone else comfortable, if you've been manipulated into doubting your own memory, your feelings, or your worth, then this channel was created with you in mind. So if you're ready to stop surviving and start rebuilding, if you're ready to trade confusion for clarity, and burnout for balance, then I invite you to subscribe. Not just to a channel, but to a mindset, to a lifestyle rooted in stillness, awareness, and quiet strength. And if you're already subscribed, thank you for being here. Your presence means more than you know. Drop a comment below. Let me know what resonated with you. Or simply write, "No more games," to mark the moment you chose yourself. Every message is read, every story matters. We're building something here, something real. Not just views or numbers, but a community of minds who choose to live with clarity, dignity, and courage. And wherever you are in your journey, whether you're just waking up or already rebuilding, you're welcome here. You belong here, and I'm honored to walk this road with you. So stay close. There's more ahead, because this is only the beginning.